Hello again, Brewster Blockers, and here we have another something to think about. I wrote this back in, I think it was March 2023. And what I had in mind at the time was George Orwell's 1984, which would be coming up, of course, 1 year later, which is now 2024. I didn't have any particular leaders in mind, but things were getting a little bit troubled. And now that as I reread this, I realize even though with the incoming president south of the border, I live in Canada, and lots of people comparing him perhaps incorrectly and radically as you know dictators like Hitler, etc. Now that I've done a little research on 1984, the book, and what it really stood for and why it was written, perhaps a better comparison would indeed be to Orwell's 1984, because there are a lot of similarities when you hear some of the things that Donald Trump and his cronies have been saying for quite some time, and it would appear with some of the cabinet picks they're in the process of trying to implement. Now, as I recall, just before we get going here, 1984 was mythical. It was about, but the message was don't let government have too much power. If government gets way too much power, they can control every aspect of your life, including what you read and hear and see in media, then they will have endless power. And in the novel itself, there was a person who was delegated by the party in power, the task of rewriting history so that the party would come out on top, basically. And in the end, I think he had a girlfriend or a lover, and they decided this was not something they really wanted to do. They tried to hide out. They were found and, as I recall, tortured and made to profess indeed they still followed and believed in the party's policies. Does that sound familiar? Maybe not the torture yet, but rewriting history and breaking down all the institutions that US now has to maintain some kind of balance of power and freedom of information. I think there's a great parallel. So I entitled this Orwell's 1984, 40 Years Later. Not to be too alarming here, but the title at that time was also The Next Nuclear Button Push Will Be the Last. That's still true. I'm not trying to imply that anyone is about to push the button, at least I hope not. And here is why. Whatever your religion or how you think and pray, some might find this offensive, but there are things to say. Wherever is the heaven or hell that you might fear, our earth is in grave danger. Armageddon's near. Some of you are yawning. Old news, I hear you say. Y2K would self implode, yet here we are today. Butchery and genocide fill history books galore. But sadly, men have never learned these lessons from before. Never through those wicked times and genocides that linger could man annihilate this earth with one touch of a finger. There won't be any Marshall Plan, no cities to remake. The greatest minds know when to blink for all of mankind's sake. Is heaven watching as its flocks approach the great abyss? Surely there's a better way to test our faith than this. Hope you like that. One of these or one of those, please. Let us know how we're doing. Thank you very much for watching.